Literacy training. Okay, so the term literacy is generally used to mean the mastery of basic skills, and that is the subjects normally taught in schools, no, like reading, writing, arithmetics, and their uses in problem solving. Now, it is important to distinguish between general literacy and functional literacy. While general literacy is a person's general skill level, functional literacy is a person's skill level in a particular content area. Now, an employee is functionally literate if he or she can read and write well enough to perform important job duties. Now, such as reading instruction manuals, understanding safety messages, filling out order slips. So those are what we call functional literacy, because there are persons who are great in their general literacy but poor in functional literacy. That is why there's still a need for organizations to have this literacy training, just to check now the level of literacy that your workforce is having. Basi kinahanglan na sila renew with their literacy. Okay? Functional illiteracy can be a serious impediment to an organization's productivity and competitiveness. For example, now the Occupational Safety and Health Administration believes that there is a direct correlation between illiteracy and some workplace accidents. No? Kay, lagi na ka maumrabag the comprehension on a particular machine manual is not fully absorbed by a particular uh, employee, so mo na, it might cause some workplace accident. No? So functional literacy training programs focus on the basic skills required to perform a job adequately and capitalize on most workers' motivation to get help or advance in a particular job. These programs use materials drawn directly from the job. So for example, unlike reading a comprehension course, no, which teaches general reading skills, functional training teaches employees to comprehend manuals and other reading materials they must use on the job. So specific na ang functional um, training. Now, or we call it for the sake of functional literacy, not just the general comprehension. Now, as I am always ko na ingon ninyo nga, sometimes I give off a module, no, to practice your comprehension skills, because that is necessary, no, for your everyday kanang day-to-day life battles. So, ig-abot ninyo sa workplace, mas specific na karon, no? Adto na ka specifically on the functions, no? Comprehend the manuals or materials that is necessary for your job. So, kung kay comprehension, kung below average na imong comprehension level on the general matter, so, murag kulbaan po no? Inig-abot sa specific na, or it might be that you have a good general comprehension on anything. Unya, pag-abot dire sa functional na or specific, low na pug ka, or the other way, low ka og comprehension level on general but you have a high functional literacy. Depende ra na ninyo, but bottom line, it is really important and necessary to develop your comprehension skills. Mao jud na. Okay, there are manuals or sa panadihang malang mananap in an organization nga lisod sabton, no? Lisod siya. So, kung di gani ka makasabot in general comprehension, kanang general things that you are reading, na unsa ra ka ha, mabuta ka mga technicals, no, when you are in the job na gajud. Okay, so that's it. You need also to conduct literacy training on your employees just to make sure to avoid any delays or accidents in the workplace, because they fail, not feel, fail to comprehend particular sana kanang naay manuals or reading materials that are necessary for their job. Now let's go to diversity training. Now we all know that in an organization, it is composed of different person with different personality. Now ensuring that the diverse groups of people in a working company get along and cooperate in a vital it is vital to organizational success. So that's why we need to conduct no, this diversity training. Diversity training programs are designed now to teach employees about specific cultural and sex differences and how to respond to this in the workplace. Diversity training is particularly important when team structures are used. Now, to be successful, it must include and be sensitive to all groups, including those persons that they might perceive that the training is directed to or against them. So it should be neutral. No, the objectives or the what you call that, the program designed for this diversity training should be sensitive to all groups. Dili kay min ka mag-conduct og diversity training about kanang stress management, kay naay usa ka employee diri nga makahatag jud og stress sa tanang employees. So you are now attacking that particular employee. Might as well call her or his attention rather than conducting this particular ano ba nahitabo ang ingan na mugag feel sa usa ka employee kay the seminar is directed against her. So na ako na experience nga ingan nga seminar, and then this particular employee vent out to me nga feel ni just say gipaigo sa seminar. So na you should be careful, no. Crisis training. Now, unfortunately, accidents, disasters, and violence are part of our life and even part of the organization. Events such as motorcycle accidents, chemical spills, if you are in a chemical organizations, and workplace violence can wreak havoc on organizations. Yet many organizations are ill prepared to deal with the tragedies and their aftermath. So there are organizations that often caught off guard now with this tragedies and the aftermath of these tragedies. That's why it is included, no, in the types of training. Dapat imo na pong i-prepare ang imong organization how to deal with this crisis and its aftermath. Now, in addition to the after the fact crisis management, crisis training can focus on prevention. So, if you are training your organizations on crisis that might occur, they can actually prevent them. Kakabaw sila, ay, ingana daw. So, they can avoid activities that might result to crisis. No? So, na siya. Another is ethics. Ethics training. So, technically, when we say ethics training, it just training programs that are done so that the employees can clarify the policies and help them apply now these policies to their everyday work. Morbag, it's more on like guiding your employees what are the ethical ethos of your organization so that they can apply it in their everyday work. So, mo na ethical ethics training. So necessary po no what are the values or culture or policies that exist in this organization. So minka human naman na sila kanang inform by the time they were hired. Again, let us not forget the retraining. If you have a new policy approved or created, so you need to retrain your employees. Hindi na kami nga, it's their responsibility to know what are the new policies. It is your obligation to inform, no, through training, what are the updates, what are the new policies or new ethical considerations of your organization. Okay? And the last one is the customer service training. This is widely it's a wide knowledge na customer service training. This helps your employees understand now how to meet customer needs and how to handle conflicts. Now, so mara dyan na ang customer service training. Mara dyan na ang pinaka unod sa inganing mga training. Because organizations are increasingly recognizing the importance of meeting customers' expectations. Because, ngano ganito, why do you need to meet expectations of your customers? Because you are after their loyalty. If customer expectations and satisfactions are met by an organization, it can be safe to say that you have a place in their heart. Okay, so we're done with types of training. So I have here pakapin, no? Techniques how to increase creativity. So as I have said before, creativity can be learned and developed. Now the following techniques can be used, no? So, first one is analogies and metaphors. Second is free association. Third is personal analogy. And the last one is mind mapping. So, you can use these activities or techniques now in order to increase the creativity level of your employees. Wala ni siya magpakapin, lagid ni siya. Okay, so we are now on the last phase of the training, which is the evaluation phase. Now, in the evaluation phase of the training process, the effectiveness of the training program is assessed. Now, this is the time that you're going to assess the training program, whether or not the objectives are met and the process is effective. Now, companies can measure effectiveness in monetary or non-monetary terms. Whatever the terms, the training should be judged on how well it addressed the needs it was designed to meet. It doesn't matter kung dako or gamay o gasto ang training. The effectiveness should be measured on how well it addresses the need it was designed to meet. Okay? Now, there are 4-level framework for evaluation. The first one is reaction of the trainees. This level consists, or it may consist of ratings on satisfaction scale that assess how happy trainees are with the training. So, on our first level, for evaluation, the reaction of the trainees. So it measures how happy the trainees had been with the training. But then again, to give emphasis, no matter how no matter how dako is the gasto for that particular training, always remember that the effectivity, no, of that training should be measured on how it addresses the needs that it was designed. That this or that particular training is designed for. Remember that assessing the effectiveness of training is more than simply estimating financial cost and benefits. So, mauna siya. Okay, let's go back to the 4-level framework for evaluation. Of course, it also matters, no? How happy your trainees had been in the training process. So, usap na sa aspect ng imong tan-awon for you to determine if the training is effective, how happy the trainees are, no? The level 2 kaning how much the trainees learned refers to how much these trainees learn from the training and it may be assessed with skill exercise. So from measuring how happy or how interactive or how committed or how attentive the trainees are, you are also to rate, no, the level of learning that the trainees learn from the training. And you can do that by assessing the skills. Kaya diba, nag-training ka on a particular skill or whatever it is this training for. So, imong i-assess kung unsa gajud mo bitaw nang in most seminars or trainings naa gajud nay output. Kaya og mag-train ka unsa di ka mga jog output. Unsa ni mo pag-assess if the training is effective kung di ka mo check sa ilahang sa skill or whatever it is that you train these people for. So i-assess siya na nimo. So mo na how you're going to check how much the trainees learn from this particular training. The third one is trainees behavior. Now, of course, this refers to the trainee's behavior. Was he friendly, accommodating, not, non-intimidating, no? So, mo na siya. It may be measured by observers of the work operations. So, of course, makita man na diha during evaluation of the naman na yung mga evaluation papers at the end of the seminar, na makita ninyo nga i-rate nila ang trainer's behavior. No? And aside from the trainers, you also need to rate the trainees, ang participants na karon. So, imo pong i-rate, no? Imong i-rate ang behavior sa imong participants. Was they cooperative? Were they attentive? Ano pa? Cooperative, attentive, committed. So, tanawin po nimo diha. Imo pong measure both, not just the trainer, but also the trainees. Tanawin nimo diha ang ilang both behavior because, it takes two to tango. So, the success of the seminar, training, relies, on the two participants, the trainee, the trainer and the trainees. So, you have to evaluate the two, no? uh, players in the training. Level 4 now refers to the result, which are generally assessed through the financial measure of return of investments. Results deemed as the highest level of measurement seems to be the most desirable way of assessing the success of a training program. However, other levels of measurement, particularly level 3, no, behavior can also be important. So, ngayong kakaron, how are you going to assess the result of the training? So, makita na nimo through financial measure of return on investment na abay impact ang gihimo nimo nga training on the ROI. So, say for example, you are training particular employees to increase sales. So, after the pila ka weeks nga training tahay, 1 week training on the techniques and how to increase sales by 90%. So kalawon nimo na karon after tagaan nimo og quota like 6 months kung na-increase ba nilang sales. And that is the result of the training. Na effective dahil sa kay there is now a change in the figure of sales. Okay? Okay, let's move on to legal issues in training. So, like all other HRM functions, training is affected by legal regulations. The major requirement here is that employees must have access to training and development programs in a non-discriminatory fashion. Equal opportunity regulates and anti-discrimination laws apply to the training process, just as they do to all other HR functions. So naa jud ni ang where there are mga good companies that are biased, no, as to who they are sending uh, kanang employees to train further. So it should be subject to EEO regulation and anti-discriminatory laws. So may kakaroon, ay nasa dya i-send kay bulokon ra ba na? Kasi why effect ang training ana? That's a no-no. Wa kakahibaw, uy, if this particular employee is kind of hinay in production, the more unta nga mo imong i-send sa training for this particular person to develop into a full asset of the organization. But technically, decision making of managers are tainted with emotions man lagi sometimes, because of course we are just human, and sometimes naiunan ho pa train ang hong kanang igagaw kay arong may musunod mo retire ko pagka manager si Jay makuan si Jay mo puli ma-qualified din sa kay daghan sa mga training ag atinan, di ba natay mga ingana, we have this particular notions, no. So mo nang nandiyan yung mga legal issues in training. Anti-discriminatory, okay. Employees must have access to training and development programs, I have mentioned before, and job relevance is a valid defense. Okay? So, muna dyan ang legal issues in training. Okay, so we are here now on the last topic that we will be discussing, which is orientation and socialization. Now, it is possible, no, though difficult to prove, that the most important training opportunity occurs when employees start with the firm. At this time, managers have the chance to set the tone for new employees through orientation. No? Now, orientation, the process of informing new employees about what is expected of them in the job and helping them to cope with the stresses of transition. Orientation is an important aspect of socialization stage of staffing process. So, if makabantay mo, naagad yun ng newly hired employees are oriented, no? Of what is expected of them, no, in the workplace. So, naan ang orientation. Although many people use the term orientation and socialization synonymously, we define socialization as a long-term process with several phases that helps employees acclimate themselves to new organizations, understand its culture and the company's expectations, and settle into the job. Now, we view orientation as a short-term program that informs them about their new position in the company. So that's the